I mean, that was unbridled emotion, unbridled joy, the singing, the praising, seen all over social media. So I'll go straight into the reactions, and I'll take the first one from Peter Obi, who says, in part, democracy is strongest when citizens are alert, conscious of their responsibility, and determined to ensure their votes count. Every vote must be respected. Every lawful mandate must be protected. This is also a clarion call as we approach 2027. Nigerians must remain informed, participate, vote, and protect their votes. The Nigerian people are the ones experiencing hunger, deprivation, insecurity, hardship. Therefore, they're the ones with the power through their votes to bring about change. All political actors should place the interests of the people above partisan considerations to embrace peace. Now, elections should never be battles out of violence, but contests of ideas, competence, and service. May the Osun experience strengthen our confidence in the democratic process and inspire Nigerians everywhere to remain vigilant and committed to building a truly people-centered nation. Then, of course, we have Daniel on Adeleke, who said they tried to make people afraid of the ballot, but people still came out. They stood in queues, they waited, they voted, and they refused to let fear decide their choice. That is what democracy is supposed to look like. You can threaten a person, you can pressure a person, you can try to intimidate a person, but you cannot permanently silence a people who have decided that their vote belongs to them. Osun has reminded us of something important. A vote may look small in your hand, but millions of votes can speak louder than power. Respect the people, respect the ballot, respect democracy. And from here, let me just say good morning and happy Monday, new week, new energy, new governor to my panel. Good morning, Rufai. Good to see you. Good morning, Good to see you. I missed the memo to wear white, clearly. Right? But great to see all of you and all of your, fantastic analysis in the field, in the studio. And I think that last piece from Daniel on Adeleke made a point, because this weekend it felt as though the entire country was watching this single state as a bellwether on the state of democracy and where the country might be headed. Another major takeaway for people online was Adeleke's almost immediate recognition of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that's because the president almost immediately acknowledged him. And, reacting to the governor's win, the president described it as evidence that democracy in the country is alive and well. In a Sunday post on X, the president wrote in part, and I'll read from his tweet, "The re-election of Governor Adeleke in Osun election is a fitting assurance that democracy will continue to flourish in our country under the APC. I called Governor Adeleke earlier today to congratulate him on his victory. His victory once again confirmed the confidence that people have in him." And Vimbai, not only did they speak on the phone, Governor Adeleke also doubled down on his support for the president, declaring that he unequivocally endorses him for a second term in 2027, basically calling him, the president, a son of the soil. Let's watch.
At this point, I must deeply appreciate Mr. President, His Excellency, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his strong support for a free and fair election. Mr. President is a son of Osun State, and I hereby reaffirmed my earlier endorsement of him for a second term in the 2027 presidential election.
Now, Adeleke said it himself. These comments from him weren't particularly new. Since 2025, he's consistently endorsed the president. But online reactions are mixed because at the end of the day, more than 511,000 Osun residents left their houses and stood in line to vote for Adeleke against the candidate in the president's party. So Vimbai, I'll take this final reaction, then come to you, because Jerry said the same people who wanted to make sure your re-election was impossible, you went ahead and endorsed the president for his second term. For what exactly? Thousands of voters in Osun sent a clear message by voting for the Accord Party because they never wanted anything APC-related near power in Osun. Even citizens who weren't from Osun showed solidarity, both online and offline, and the first thing you could do was to endorse the same party that nearly cost you your job. Do you think Tinubu is happy you won? This is a betrayal of the people you serve. By strong words from Jerry there on X, calling it a betrayal. I mean, what are people supposed to make of this relationship between governor and president?
Well, I think that we have to get a little bit deeper into the political intrigues, which is that Gov.Adeleke's followership is a personality, almost like cult followership. They followed him from PDP to Accord. It can be argued that they would have followed him wherever he chose to go. You'll recall that his initial intention had been to move to the APC, but that plan was scuttled by members of the APC. Many say that the former governor Oyetola was the one who led that move. And you know, if you speak to some of the APC stalwarts now, they'll tell you privately that this was probably one of APC's biggest strategic failures. But they're now saying that, oh, if 1 million people could come out to vote for this Osun State election, then they are hoping that can translate to 1 million votes for President Tinubu. Which is what goes back to my initial point, which is that these are personality-driven politics. So 500,000 votes for Adeleke for a governorship election may not translate to 500,000 or even 1 million votes for President Tinubu. The personalities are different, the followers are different, the attraction and the social contract is a totally different world. However, it's not surprising that he has endorsed him. It also won't be surprising if very soon he chooses to move to the APC as well. These are politics of survival at the end of the day. Is he prepared to go through another term fighting local government fights and all these? He seems like a very practical man. So in the spirit of practical politics, we might see him making the move. He may stand on his own as well. It's you know, my bet is as good as yours. However, on us, you know, let's not get too overexcited about making a case study out of Osun for 2027. This is a single state with over 3,000 or just over 3,000 polling units and 30 local government areas. And we were able to get the machinery, security, and also from almost the entire nation for this one election. So, you know, it would be, I think, improper for us to now say that, oh, this is what to expect in 2027, because 30 local governments, over 700 local governments, very different ballgame.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't, yes, Rufai, I'll come to you on this next one, because we're taking a lot of different buckets from everything that we saw this weekend. And in a similar vein, an undeniable winner in all of this, as Mumbai kind of alluded to, was the power of charisma, personality, pizzazz, not only from Governor Adeleke, but his nephew, the Afrobeat superstar Davido. Not only did he campaign for his uncle, he was also formally appointed as the head of youth mobilization for Adeleke's campaign. And listen, Davido took that role seriously, setting up a 43-member youth campaign team, attending rallies with his uncle, campaigning. So both Davido and the governor's reactions with one another when they found out that he won were priceless. Let's watch.
Of the law is hereby declared the winner. That's all! We don't win! That's all! Win! That's all! That's all my boss. Congratulations! You won the election, my boss. That's all! Oh, one for a reason! Oh, one for a reason! Oh, one for a reason!
That's Excellency on phone with Davido. Love you, David, man. We appreciate you, man. Love you, man. Thank you so much. Everybody,
Now, Rufai, beyond Davido's popularity as a global music star, there's also something to be said about the nature of their relationship that really resonated with the public, that has to do with the sense of humanity, of empathy. Is there a sense that everyone needs a Davido on their campaign team?
Yes, everyone needs a Davido on their campaign team. The Adeleke family are a very close-knit bunch. Very, very, and they show it. Is it only the one with Davido? What about him hugging and kissing? I think that was his older sister.
Yeah, his older sister.
You know, and also even with Davido's father. So they're a close-knit bunch. So even show how close-knit, because all of this started for Ademola Adeleke because of his older brother, Sheriff Bawo, that passed. That was the first governor of Osun State. I remember when he won the last election, and he was interviewed and said, what does this victory mean to you? And they said, what will Sheriff Bawo be doing? I think they asked him questions along that line. He burst out crying. And that's to show the very close-knit family they have. So they are a very close bunch and all of that. For Adeleke, what I wanted to comment on this, for Adeleke supporting Tinubu, there's no big deal about it. In fact, we have a local term for it in Nigerian colleges. It's called skirt and blouse. All right, skirt and blouse means you can vote for somebody down the ballot, maybe House of Rep another party or governorship another party, presidential another person. So it's called skirt and blouse. It's not a big deal. People do it. Even President Tinubu has done it for Goodluck Jonathan then. While they were pushing the AC and APC mantra, I think to about 2011, they supported Goodluck Jonathan in 2011 election, but Fashola obviously was supported for the governorship election. So it's not a new thing that they do. So if they have whatever political agreement, that's their business. But we should all remember that the people's power always reigns supreme. And that's it in the end. And if for anything, that has shown there. So if Adeleke thinks he can use his power and his, pizzazz to be able to sell President Tinubu and then buy into President Tinubu, that's it. I mean, he can do anything he wants to do. It's a normal thing. I mean, it's not a big deal that people normally do it in this part of the world and all of that. But they should never forget the people's power.
Exactly.
And secondly, it's not about because I see a lot of APC people are trying to now spin the narrative that they had an agreement. It's not true. It's not about the agreements they had that made Adeleke win the election. Tinubu used federal might and deliberately mentioned his name. Yes, President Tinubu, there was a use of federal might and by the APC because his name was being mentioned. Let me even tell you where they started the federal might from. From local governments. When they didn't release the money of the local government, with President Tinubu claim he wasn't aware of that. Then the one that we called the attention to that they quickly reversed was the freezing of the account. Do you know now investigations are not even showing that? I think they even froze more than one account. Some papers are reporting that they froze more than one account in the states. The heavy militarization, they used every federal might possible. It's just that it didn't fall to them because the power of the people was stronger than anything. So this narrative they're not trying to push that is because of they had the program. No, in fact, let me even debunk the argument by saying, didn't Oyetola publicly say that because you are supporting Tinubu does not mean that will not beat you? I know, Oyetola said it publicly now.
Right.
So let's stop all of this because now they're trying to spin the narrative against the Tinubu because they have an agreement. No, they use federal might against them. It didn't just work. The people might reign supreme.
The people might reign supreme, which is the perfect segue into our next section of stories. Because there was the public, the people of Osun State, who up until this moment are being spoken about, analyzed, regarded as a beacon of hope for the Nigerian democratic project. Why? Because throughout the weekend, social media was flooded with videos of Osun indigents fervently defending their right to vote for their preferred candidate, including this moment where voters were seen following a truck to make sure their ballots made it to the INEC center. Let's watch.
Who banned us? Go.
Motorcycle gang chasing ballots. Then there was this moment when a group of men admitted to allegedly taking money to vote for a particular candidate, but used the money to buy fish instead. Let's watch. Let's be clear, vote buying in any way, shape, or form is illegal, but this clip is trending online because, on the other hand, it's somewhat representative of growing voter agency, where instead of money determining an electoral outcome, voters are openly saying, yes, we'll take your money, but we'll vote as we choose. Ayo, I mean, what do we make of these videos that we're seeing?
All right, that's fantastic. I know people, yes, and I'm glad that you put the caveat at the beginning that we do not endorse voter buying. it's still a flawed system. We don't have strong institutions yet to the extent where voter buying is either eliminated or at best very minimal during elections. We saw a lot of voter buying prior to elections and during elections. I mean, we cannot forget the cursed rice video that you showed us here on What's Trending, where the woman was giving it. So people were eating that cursed rice and voting alternatively. What I'm saying is that this is what we say, that okay, you collect the money, but don't forget that the fact that you collected money should mean that you're selling your future. You're selling what is meant to be for your own good. How much money? 50,000 naira, let's say, which was said to be touted as to the amount of money that was given in some instances. What can 50,000 naira do for you in a week? What can it do for you in a month? Whereas if your leaders build good roads, create jobs, make life worth living for you, you will gain a lot more than 50,000 naira. And I believe that this should be a central message for civil society organizations, for us as media, for political parties to push to the people that you should not sell your future. And then talking about the power of the people, it's Dr. Gov.Adeleke that talks very frequently about the power of the citizen, saying that the office of the citizen is the highest office in the land, and that the most you can rant on X, you can rant on social media, but if you are not doing anything about it with regards to registering to vote, actually voting, protecting your vote, as we saw in the last election, then nothing will change in Nigeria. So that's why I started off this morning by saying that the MVPs, the most valuable players, the critical success factor of the elections over the weekend were the people of Osun State. And if we can replicate this, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying this without prejudice to any political party, vote your choice. Let it be based on who you want and not on people, a group of people rigging the election in their favor. If you want APC, vote for APC. If you want PDP, vote for PDP if they're on the ballot. If you want ADC, vote for ADC. If you want NDC, vote for NDC. If you want Accord, vote for Accord.
Right.
Vote for the person that you want, but let it be based on who's going to move your life forward and take Nigeria and build the nation. And so I applaud once more the people of Osun State. If it could be done in Osun State, it can be replicated across the 36 states of the country. So get your PVC, go out and vote, and ensure that your vote counts.
Absolutely. What a note to end on, the power of the people. But before we move on to our next set of stories, let's highlight the sweet moment when former President Olusegun Obasanjo visited Governor Adeleke, and like the saying goes, when in Rome, do like the Romans do. So of course, they danced. Let's watch.
Olúwa mi, mo dúpẹ́. Olúwa mi, mo dúpẹ́. Olúwa mi, mo dúpẹ́. Mo dúpẹ́, mo dúpẹ́, mo dúpẹ́.
And there you have it.